Hi guys, it's Steffi from the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with another book haul revisited. This is for the months of May and June 2017. So roughly 12 months ago, I purchased a whole lot of books over those 2 months, and this is where I share how many I've read, how many I haven't read yet. From those unread books, if you're unfamiliar with this series, I try and read them in the 2 months this year. So in May and June, some of these books will form part of my TBR. So some stats. I had a total of 53 books that I picked up during May and June last year, which is a lot and slightly intimidating. Of those, I have 14 that I haven't read, and I'm going to talk about those at the end. I have read and unhauled 8 of these books, and I have read 31 others, I think, if my math is right, but that could be interesting because my math is never right. I'm going to start with the books that I read and unhauled. The first one was The Dark Lake by Sarah Bailey. This was a book that I received for review from Alan and Unwin. It is an adult thriller book and I really enjoyed it. I unhauled it not because I didn't like it, but because I'd read it, and I don't tend to reread the thrillers that I have because I already know the ending and I passed it on to a friend. I do actually have the second book in the series to read, which I'm really excited about because Sarah Bailey's writing is just very atmospheric. The next book was Girl in Between by Anna Daniels. Again, this was a book I received for review. I think I was part of a blog tour for it. It is an adult fiction, adult contemporary sort of book. I enjoyed it when I read it, and I passed it on to a friend who absolutely loves those sorts of books. It is essentially about a 30-something-year-old woman who is desperately trying to find meaning in her life and goes on a journey overseas to try and do that and has to discover a few things about herself. Then I read Lies by T.M. Logan. Again, this was a review copy. It is an adult thriller book. It was an okay book for what I remember of it, and it is about a man who thinks he's caused a crime, I believe. I can't remember it off the top of my head. Again, this was just one of those books that I read, thriller book, passed it on to a friend who I know will enjoy them. I had 2 copies of Flame in the Mist by Renee Ardier. One of them was a paperback copy, which I passed on because I had the hardcover edition, and so that went to a friend. So I did read it. Well, I didn't read that particular edition of it, but I read the book. Living on Hope Street by Demet Divarowan. I always said that name wrong. I think it's Divarowan. And that is a Lover's Way A book, and it is all about the different families living on one particular street, the difficulties that they face, and how they overcome them as a community. I had a proof copy of Release by Patrick Ness, which is the copy that I read, but I also ended up with a hardcover of the final release, so I just got rid of the proof copy. When Dimple Met Rishi by Zendaya Menon. This one I found really disappointing, unfortunately, so that's why that one went, and that was quite popular last year, but it was just one of those books that left me at the end going, oh, I wish that had been more. And I also had Song of the Current by Sarah Tolska, which I have since passed on. That was a young adult fantasy book. Now we come to all of the things that I read and kept. So I have a paperback edition of A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. And that same month I also picked up the hardcover editions of A Court of Thorns and Roses, A Court of Mist and Fury, and A Court of Wings and Ruin. I picked up the hardcovers because I decided to deface them, so they're painted underneath. I'll leave links to the defacing videos on the screen if you're interested in checking them out. I also read Losing It by Moira Burke. This is also a Lover's Way A book set in 1980s Melbourne, and it deals with a teenage girl who basically is involved in a whole lot of sex, alcohol, drugs, and really tough friendships. I also picked up and read The Upside of Unrequited, which was a YA Room book of the month. And because I read that, I also picked up Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda, also by Becky Albertalli, and I really enjoyed this one. And the movie's great too if you haven't seen it. I had my hardcover edition of Flame in the Mist by Renee Ardier, which was an interesting sort of reimagining of a Mulan-esque tale. It's not a reimagining of Mulan in the strictest sense because it does take some liberties and it does change the history of it and the origins. So it's Mulan-esque, but it's not a Mulan retelling. Yeah, this one, I don't know. I expected it to be better and I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it, but I'm hoping that with the second book that there'll be just something a little bit more. Then I have Release by Patrick Ness. This is the final hardcover edition and it's absolutely beautiful. This is an interesting young adult story. It is about a boy who is gay and comes from a very religious family, and so he's struggling with that and coming out to them, as well as there's this magical realism story flowing through it as well, interspersed, and that story is a little bit weird, but I think overall I really enjoyed this book. Queens of Geek by Jen Wilde. This was one of my favourite books last year. It's a Lover's Way contemporary book, and it is about 3 friends travelling overseas to go to a big convention. One is a YouTube vlogging star and the other are 2 of her best friends. There's really gorgeous romances in this, lots of LGBT rep, mental health rep. Wonderful story. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm surrounded by books and they keep falling off, so I'm trying to contain them. I also picked up the 20th anniversary edition of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. This is the Ravenclaw edition and it's gorgeous. Then I caved and also picked up the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them screenplay because this book is also stunning. I also loved this film so much. I picked up Skullduggery Pleasant Resurrection by Derek Landy, and I'm so glad that this series is still continuing. I love the characters so much. There's just so much wonderful banter going on in these books, and I'm looking forward to the new book coming out soon. I also read The Ones That Disappeared by Zana Fralin. I really enjoyed The Bone Sparrow, and this one is very similar in tone, except in this one, instead of dealing with children in detention centres, we are looking at children who are being trafficked. There are just beautiful friendships in here and a lovely magical realism element built into it as well. I read Wreck by Fleur Ferris. This was the first Fleur Ferris book that I read, and then I went out promptly and bought both of her other books and read them and absolutely adored them. This is a Lover's Way thriller about a girl who is wanting to become a journalist, except she uncovers something that has been buried, and her discovery puts her in the firing line and she suddenly finds herself on the run. Peter Darling by Austen Chant is a Peter Pan retelling, reimagining, and it is absolutely gorgeous. This is one of those LGBTQIA+ books that I absolutely adore. It has a really wonderfully complex relationship between Peter and Captain Hook, and it's just stunning. If you ever get a chance to read it, it's novella, so it's so quick and easy to read, but it's gorgeous. I reread Tomorrow When the War Began by John Marsden. This was a book that I read when I was in primary school and I hadn't read it for many years. I also read all 7 of the Kingdom of Silk books by Glenda Millard. So it's The Naming of Tishkin Silk, Layla Queen of Hearts, Perry Angel's Suitcase, All the Colours of Paradise, Plum Puddings and Paper Moons, The Tender Moments of Saffron Silk, and Nell's Festival of Crisp Winter Glories. And these are beautiful middle grade books. If you ever get a chance to pick them up, these ones I highly recommend. They're very easy to read, but they'll give you all of the feelings, I promise. I also read Our Dark Duet by Victoria Schwab, and I love this series to death. It is the 2nd book in the Monsters of Verity series, and I do highly recommend it. This one just had such a great ending. And I also read The Sloth Who Came to Stay by Margaret Wilde. This was a review copy, and it's a gorgeous picture book about taking life slowly and not rushing through it, and it has a great message. Last 4 books that I read. Kindred Spirits by Rainbow Rowell, novella, and this is about Star Wars fans waiting in line to see the Star Wars film on the first day, which is great. Perfect for a Star Wars nerd like me. I also have since reread the first 2 books in the Harry Potter series, so Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone and Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, and also George by Alex Gino, which is a middle grade book about a transgender girl. It is just beautiful and heartwarming, and I highly recommend it. So the next 14 books are the ones that I haven't read yet, so hopefully over May and June you'll see me do reviews for them. I'm going to start off with the rest of the Harry Potter box set. I'm not planning on reading these ones in the next 2 months because I actually don't think I can stomach that much Harry Potter in a 2-month period, because as much as I love the stories, I am finding now as an adult that they're not really my thing. So I have to take them slowly. So I'm going to try and aim to read at least Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban and Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire was my favourite growing up, and then we'll see how we go. So this is a more ongoing project than just trying to get it done in the next 2 months. So the next 9 books are The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness. This one I have to try and read reasonably soon because I am going to see Patrick Ness when he comes to Melbourne. Winter Song by S.J. Jones. I believe the 2nd book has already come out. This one I think is a Goblin King retelling. So I'm curious to try this one. Hello Goodbye by Emily Bruin. This book I won in a Goodreads giveaway, so I would like to read it. The books that I win in those giveaways are really just my chance of trying new things that I would not pick up normally, so I am very intrigued by this one. Dividing Eden by Joelle Charbonneau. I'm probably butchering that, so I apologise. This one came in a subscription box and it is a fantasy book, isn't it? I don't know if it's a young adult fantasy or if it's an adult fantasy, so we'll just have to see. This is about 2 twins who are the younger children of the King of Eden, and they're not expected to inherit the throne. However, when the king and the crown prince are killed, they are next in line and they basically, I think, have to fight it out for the throne, which sounds really intriguing. I'm hoping it's as dark as it sounds because that would be awesome. I have The Young Elites by Marie Lu. I've only read Warcross by Marie Lu, so I want to read this and give her other work a try. Highly Illogical Behaviour by John Corey Whaley. This one I've heard really good things about, and it's only a short young adult book, so I'm hoping I can get through that reasonably quickly. I have 2 A.S. King books. Last year I read Still Life with Tornado, which I absolutely adored, but I also picked up Gloria O'Brien's History of the Future and Ask the Passengers, and these I am very excited to try and read sometime very soon. And finally, A List of Cages by Robin Rowe. This is a book that I've heard mixed things about from people that I really like and trust on BookTube, so I'm curious to see where I sit on this one. But this one I believe deals quite a bit with mental health, and it tells a story of a boy who used to be in foster care with another boy at school, and then suddenly they are reunited through a program the school's running, and it's about their relationship and a whole bunch of other things. Like I said, I don't know a whole lot about the details about books I don't read. I can tell you more after I read it. So that's it. Those are all the books, and now I've got to put them back on my shelves, which is going to be interesting. In the comments, let me know which of the 14 books I should pick up first in May. I would really love to know your thoughts if you have any on them. I hope that wherever you're in the world, you're having a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching. Bye guys.